Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I've already signed the divorce agreement. When are you free to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau? Kira Lynn looked at the man in front of her, her tone as calm as if she were discussing what to eat for dinner. The man sitting behind the desk suddenly raised his head, a flicker of shock passing through his deep-set eyes. He was Dangio, the youngest commander in the military district, always composed and self-controlled. But now he was stunned by his wife's words. "Kira, what did you say?" Jiao set down the documents in his hand, his voice slightly tense. Kira Lynn gently placed the divorce agreement on his desk, a sarcastic smile curling her red lips. "I said, I agree to the divorce. Isn't that what you've always wanted?" Diany Gu's face instantly darkened. He had indeed brought up divorce yesterday, but it was only to scare her, to make her back off and stop pestering him about his affair with Zoe Song. He never expected that Kira Lynn would actually agree. "Are you crazy?" Dangio shot to his feet, his tall frame radiating an oppressive aura. "Kira Lynn, do you know what you're saying?" Kira Lynn looked at him calmly, though her heart was in turmoil. On this very day in her past life, she had begged him through tears not to divorce her, even kneeling on the ground to plead for another chance. Back then, she thought that if she were humble enough, submissive enough, she could win back his heart. What was the result? All she got was endless humiliation and betrayal. Jiao, for Zoe Song's sake, did not hesitate to push her off the cliff. Only in her final moments did she realize that the marriage she had desperately tried to protect was a joke from the very beginning. Zoe Song was already pregnant with his child, and she, the legitimate wife, was nothing but a laughingstock. Heaven gave her a chance to live again, and this time she would never make the same mistake again. "I am perfectly clear-headed." Kira Lynn adjusted her military green jacket. "Chief Gu, since you have someone else in your heart, why should we drag this out any longer?" Diany Gu's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Who told you that I have someone else in my heart? Isn't that the case?" Kira Lynn retorted. "Last night Zoe Song called you and you left me behind and ran off. This morning you brought up divorce again. Are all these just my illusions?" Diany Gu's expression grew even more unpleasant. "Last night, Zoe Song did call saying she was in the hospital and was very scared. Worried something might happen to her. I rushed over in a hurry. But that doesn't mean anything. Zoe is just my subordinate. Is there a problem with me checking on her when she's sick?" Dio suppressed his anger. "Kira Lynn, don't be unreasonable. Making a scene without reason." Kira Lynn sneered. "Dangio, do you think I'm a fool? Why is it that Zoe Song just happens to fall sick on our wedding anniversary of all days? And why does she need you to stay with her the entire night?" Dio was left speechless by her words. Kira Lynn continued. "And another thing, she's clearly a clerical officer. So why is she always by your side? Why does everyone in the military district know she's your personal secretary? Diany Gu, do you think I'm blind?" Each word struck Dui's heart like a knife. He knew that everything Kira Lynn said was true, but he simply refused to admit it. In his heart, Zoe Song was indeed different, but he had never intended to betray his marriage. "You're overthinking it," Jiao said coldly. "Zoe and I are completely innocent." "Innocent?" Kira Lynn pulled a photo from her bag and tossed it lightly onto the table. "Then how do you explain this?" In the photo, Dangio and Zoe Song were locked in a tight embrace, his hand gently caressing her cheek, their posture undeniably intimate. Neg's pupils contracted sharply at the sight of the photo. When was this taken? How could he not remember such a moment? "This photo is fake," he denied outright. "Fake?" Kira Lynn sneered. "Dane, at this point, are you still going to lie? This was taken at the hospital last night. Have you forgotten? Zoe Song was crying and saying she was scared. And you held her like this to comfort her." Diany Gu's face turned ashen. "Zoe Song did cry last night. And I did comfort her, but it was definitely not as intimate as the photo suggests. The photo is clearly taken from an angle deliberately set up by someone." "Kira, let me explain." "No need to explain," Kira Lynn interrupted him. "Dangio, I'm tired. Since you have someone else in your heart, let's get a divorce. I won't hold you back, nor will I cause myself any more pain." After saying this, she turned around and was about to leave. Stop. Dio strode after her and grabbed her wrist. Kira Lynn, do you think divorce is a game? You can just say it and it's done. Kira Lynn looked back at him, her eyes showing no trace of attachment. Chief Gio, you were the one who brought up divorce first. Now that I've agreed, you're unwilling. What exactly do you want? Dne Gu was left speechless by her question. Indeed, he was the one who brought up divorce yesterday, but it was just a remark made in the heat of the moment. He never actually intended to divorce her. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Just then, the office door was pushed open, and Zoe Song walked in, holding a cup of tea. Seeing the entangled posture of the two, a hint of triumph flashed in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a look of grievance. Brother Din, I made you some tea. Her voice was soft and sweet, full of a delicate, feminine fragility. Seeing Zoe Song, Kira Lynn let out a cold laugh. In her previous life, it was this seemingly weak and harmless woman who had step by step destroyed her life. This time, she would never let her succeed again. Chapter 2. Seeing Zoe Song appear, Kira Lynn wasn't angry at all. Instead, she smiled. In her previous life, she had seen this woman as an enemy, wishing she could tear her apart. But now, she understood that the real enemy wasn't Zoe Song, but Dangjio, that heartless and ungrateful man. Just in time, Kira Lynn let go of Dne Gu's hand and elegantly straightened her clothes. Comrade Song, you two carry on. I won't disturb you. Zoe Song was taken aback. This was completely different from what she had expected based on past experiences. Kira Lynn should have charged at her like a madwoman, tearing into her and starting a huge argument. Sister-in-law, Zoe Song stammered, her eyes filled with panic. Don't call me sister-in-law anymore, Kira Lynn said with a faint smile. Soon you'll be able to call Dne husband openly and honorably. Dne Gu's expression grew even more unpleasant. Kira Lynn, what did I say something wrong? Kira Lynn raised an eyebrow. You two are in love, and as the legitimate wife, I'm stepping aside. You should be thanking me. Zoe Song turned pale and quickly explained. Sister-in-law, you've misunderstood. There's nothing between me and brother Dne. We're innocent. Innocent. Kira Lynn sneered, pulling another stack of photos from her bag. Are these innocent too? The photos scattered across the floor, each one showing intimate moments between Dne Gio and Zoe Song. Some were taken in the office with Zoe Song leaning in close to Dne Gio. Others showed the two sitting across from each other in the cafeteria, laughing and chatting, and still others were taken at the entrance of the military dormitory, where Zoe Song was seen tearfully tugging at Dne Gu's sleeve. Each photo tells the story of their unusual relationship. Dne Gu looked at these photos, his expression turning extremely grim. When were these photos taken? Why did he have no memory of them at all? Where did these photos come from? He asked in a low voice. Why do you care where these photos came from? Kira Lynn retorted. What matters is that they are all true, aren't they? Zoe Song looked at the photos on the floor, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. These photos were indeed fabricated by her on purpose. She had thought that Kira Lynn would make a scene upon seeing them, and Dne Gio would grow even more disgusted with her. Unexpectedly, Kira Lynn remained so calm, and even took the initiative to propose a divorce. This was definitely not the outcome she had wanted. She had gone to such great lengths just to force Kira Lynn out, and then rightfully take her place. If Kira Lynn initiated the divorce, wouldn't that make her the homewrecker who destroyed someone else's family? Sister-in-law, these photos must be someone deliberately trying to frame us, Zoe Song said urgently. Brother Dne and I really have nothing going on. You can't get a divorce over this. Hearing Zoe Song's words, Kira Lynn almost laughed out loud. In her past life, this woman hadn't said anything like that. Back then, she had cried and claimed she loved Dne Gio so much it was killing her, begging Kira to let them be together. Now on the contrary, she was advising her not to get a divorce. Comrade Song, that's an interesting thing to say, Kira Lynn said, looking at her playfully. I'm divorcing my husband, and you're more anxious about it than I am. What's your role in this? Zoe Song was left speechless, her face turning red and then pale. Dne Gu looked at Kira Lynn, A sense of panic he had never felt before surging in his heart. Although Kira Lin was usually prone to jealousy, she had never been so sharp and sarcastic. Today, she seemed like a completely different person, so calm that it frightened him. "Kira, can we talk about this at home?" He lowered his stance, his voice carrying a plea he had never used before. "Home?" Kira Lin laughed as if she had heard the biggest joke. "Chief Gu, get this straight. We're about to get a divorce. What home is there to speak of?" After saying that, she bent down to pick up the divorce agreement from the floor and placed it back in front of Diany Gu. "I've signed everything I need to on this. I don't want a single penny of the property, and we don't have any children, so it's clean and simple. Whenever you come to your senses, just go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize the paperwork." After she finished speaking, she walked away without looking back. Only Diany Jiu and Zoe Song were left in the office, and the atmosphere was extremely awkward. Zoe Song looked at the divorce agreement on the table, feeling an inexplicable panic rising in her heart. The situation had completely spiraled beyond her expectations. "Brother Diany," she called out cautiously. "Get out," Diany Gu said coldly without even looking up. Zoe Song was frightened by his icy tone, and tears instantly welled up in her eyes. "Brother Diany, how could you treat me like this? I only care about you. That's why I'm telling you to get out." Diany Gu suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with fury. "Zoe Song, listen to me clearly. My wife and I don't need you meddling in our affairs." Zoe Song had never seen him so enraged before. She took a few steps back in fear, tears streaming down her face, but she refused to leave just like that. Biting her lip, she pretended to be strong and said, "Brother Diany, I know you're upset right now, but your wife has really misunderstood. There's nothing between us. You can't just let these baseless accusations stand." Diany Gu stood up, his tall figure radiating a chilling aura. "Zoe Song, I'm telling you for the last time. Get out." Zoe Song was quite intimidated by his imposing manner, and didn't dare say anything more, so she could only withdraw resentfully. The office returned to silence as Diany Gu sat back in his chair, looking at the divorce agreement on the desk, his heart filled with mixed emotions. He had never imagined that Kira Lin would take the initiative to propose a divorce, let alone that she would be so resolute about it. Picking up the divorce agreement, he read it carefully. Kira Lin's handwriting was neat and elegant, every word written with care, without the slightest trace of hesitation. In the property division section, she wrote no demands. In the child custody section, she wrote, "No children," simple and clear, clean and neat, without any unnecessary complications. Looking at this divorce agreement, Diany Gu felt an unprecedented sense of emptiness in his heart. Chapter 3. After leaving the military compound, Kira Lin went straight back to the home she shared with Diany Gu. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment, simply but warmly decorated. Every piece of furniture, every ornament had her effort poured into it. But now, as she looked at these familiar things, she felt nothing but a cold sneer in her heart. In her previous life, she had treated this place as her entire world. To protect this home, she could endure any humiliation. And what was the result? With just one word from Diany Gu, she was forced to leave with nothing, not even a single item that belonged to her. This time she was determined to take back everything that belonged to her in advance. Kira Lin walked into the bedroom, took a suitcase out of the wardrobe, and began packing her things. She didn't bring too many clothes, only selecting a few of the more valuable ones. However, all of her jewelry and some personal items were packed inside. Most importantly, she retrieved a small wooden box from the depths of the wardrobe. Opening the wooden box, inside lay a USB drive and several property deeds. These were the private savings she had accumulated over the years. Diany Gu thought she was just a military spouse with no income. But in reality, she had long been running a business outside. However, she had always kept a low profile and never flaunted it in front of him. In her previous life, all these things ended up benefiting Zoe Song. This time she was going to take everything back, leaving Zoe Song with nothing. While she was packing her things, there came a rapid knocking at the door. "Kira, open the door. I know you're in there." It was Diany Gu's voice. Kira Lin checked the time. It was only 3 p.m. How did he get off work so early? It seemed her words had really gotten to him. The knocking grew more urgent, accompanied by Dianigu's anxious voice. Kira, open the door. Let's talk this out properly. Kira Lin walked slowly to the door but did not open it. Chief Gu, what are you doing here? I'm here to take you home, Dianigu said from outside the door. Home? Kira Lin sneered. This is my home. Or at least it used to be. Kira, don't be like this. Dianigu's voice was weary. Those photos were definitely planted by someone trying to frame us. You can't seriously want a divorce over this. Someone set me up. Kira Lin leaned against the door, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Dianigu, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? I'm telling the truth, Dianigu explained urgently. Zoe Song and I really have nothing going on. Those photos are just a matter of angles or deliberately staged. Kira Lin felt a wave of disgust upon hearing his words. In her past life, she had been foolish enough to believe his lies, but in this life, she wouldn't be fooled again. Fine, even if those photos are fake, she said. Can you explain why Zoe Song is always by your side? Why do people in the military district think she's your personal secretary? Dianigu was left speechless by her question. And Kira Lin continued. Why is it that every time I want to spend time alone with you, Zoe Song always finds some excuse to interrupt us? These were all facts. And Dianigu couldn't deny them. It was quiet outside the door for a moment. Then came Dianigu's low voice. Kira, Zoe just needs my help with work. Nothing more. Work. Kira Lin scoffed. Dane, do you really think I'm a fool? Zoe Song is a desk officer. Her work has nothing to do with you. What kind of help could she possibly need from you? Warming her bed. Kira Lin's words provoked Dianigu. How could you think that way? What I think doesn't matter, Kira Lin said calmly. What matters is I don't want to continue this marriage any longer. Dane, let's get a divorce. Outside the door, there was another stretch of silence. After a long while, Dianigu's voice sounded again. This time with an unprecedented plea. Kira, will you give me a chance? I promise I won't let Zoe Song appear in front of us ever again. Hearing this, Kira Lin sneered inwardly. He had made the same promise in her previous life. And what happened? The very next day, Zoe Song showed up again. And this time she was pregnant. Dane, I don't care for your promises, she said coldly. We have nothing left to talk about, Kira. Also, Kira Lin interrupted him. You'd better keep Zoe Song in check. If she dares to show her face in front of me again, I can't guarantee what I might do to her. After saying this, the room fell silent once more. Dianigu stood outside the door for a long time, eventually having no choice but to leave helplessly. Kira Lin listened as the footsteps faded away, finally letting out a sigh of relief. She continued packing, placing all her important belongings into the suitcase. After finishing packing, she picked up her phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this Lawyer Wang? It's me, Kira Lin. A middle-aged man's voice came from the other end of the line. Ms. Lin, is there anything I can help you with? I want a divorce, Kira Lin said straightforwardly. Please help me prepare the relevant legal documents. Lawyer Wang was taken aback. Ms. Lin, are you and Chief Gu getting a divorce? Yes, Kira Lin's tone was calm. I hope we can proceed with the relevant procedures as soon as possible. All right, I understand. Lawyer Wang quickly adjusted his emotions. Are you available to come over now? We need to discuss the specifics in detail. Okay, I'll be right there. After hanging up the phone, Kira Lin dragged her suitcase and left the place she once thought was home. She didn't look back. Her steps were resolute. This time, she was determined to completely leave the past behind. Chapter 4. Wang Law Firm is located in an office building in the city center with a simple and professional decor. When Kira Lin pushed the door open, Lawyer Wang was already waiting for her. He was a middle-aged man in his 40s, wearing glasses and looking very experienced. Ms. Lin, please have a seat. Lawyer Wang stood up to greet her. You look well, not like someone who is about to get a divorce. Kira Lin sat down on the sofa and smiled faintly. Divorce is a relief for me, so of course I look well. Upon hearing this, Lawyer Wang was somewhat surprised. In his impression, Kira Lynn should have been a very gentle military spouse. But today she seemed completely different. So, what was the reason for your divorce from Chief Gu? He took out his notebook, ready to take notes. The relationship broke down, and it was impossible to continue the marriage. Kira Lynn replied succinctly. Could you be more specific? Lawyer Wang continued to ask. Kira Lynn took out those photos from her bag and placed them on the table. Are these specific enough? Lawyer Wang looked at the photos and frowned slightly. Can these photos serve as evidence? Of course they can. Kira Lynn took out a voice recorder from her bag. There's also a recording here where Zoe Song personally admits her relationship with Dane Gu. She pressed the play button and Zoe Song's soft, sweet voice came from the recorder. Dane, I know I shouldn't have fallen in love with you, but I can't help myself. You and your wife are only married in name. The one you truly love is me, isn't it? Then came Dane Gu's voice, though somewhat hesitant. He said, Zoe, you know we can't. I know, but I can wait. Zoe Song's voice was choked with tears. As long as you have me in your heart, I'm willing to wait. After the recording finished playing, Lawyer Wang's expression turned serious. Ms. Lin, this evidence is indeed compelling. However, I must remind you that military personnel require approval from their unit to get a divorce. I know, Kira Lynn nodded. So I need you to help me handle these procedures. Attorney Wang nodded and then asked, so, regarding the division of property, do you have any requests? I don't want anything. Kira Lynn's answer surprised Attorney Wang. The house, savings, other assets. I don't want any of it. Ms. Lin, are you sure? According to the law, you are entitled to half of the marital property. I'm sure. Kira Lynn's tone was firm. I just want my freedom. Nothing else matters. Lawyer Wang looked at her, his heart full of doubt. In general, women would fight for as much property as possible. And it was rare to see someone like Kira Lynn, who wanted nothing. All right, since you insist, I will handle it according to your wishes. He continued writing the record. So, where are you currently living? Staying at a hotel for now. Kira Lynn replied. If you don't mind, I can help you find an apartment, Lawyer Wang said. It's a friend's place in a good location and reasonably priced. Kira Lynn thought for a moment. Sure. Thank you for your help. The two discussed some details further, and Lawyer Wang said he would handle the relevant procedures as soon as possible. By the time they left the law firm, it was already 5 p.m. Kira Lynn walked down the street with her suitcase. Feeling more relaxed than ever before, she took out her phone and dialed a number. Hello, Manager Lee. This is Kira Lynn. A young woman's voice came from the other end of the phone. Ms. Lin, you finally called. I thought you had forgotten about our company. How could I forget? Kira Lynn chuckled. I just had some personal matters to take care of. Now that they're settled, I can fully focus on work. Great, Manager Lee exclaimed excitedly. Ms. Lin, did you know our company's performance last month hit a new record? Several major companies are already interested in collaborating with us. Hearing this news, Kira Lynn felt even more delighted. Over the years, she had been secretly running a trading company specializing in import and export business. Thanks to her language skills and sharp business acumen, the company had been doing quite well. However, she had always kept a low profile and never mentioned any of this to D&E. That's good, Kira Lynn said. I'll go to the company tomorrow, and we can discuss the next steps for development. All right, President Lin, I'll be waiting for you. After hanging up the phone, Kira Lynn hailed a taxi and headed straight to the apartment recommended by Lawyer Wang. The apartment is located in an upscale residential area in the city center with a very pleasant environment. The landlord is a woman in her 50s who is very kind. Young lady, you look very familiar, the landlord said, sizing up Kira Lynn. Have we met somewhere before? Kira Lynn smiled and said, maybe so. I lived in the military compound for a few years. Oh, I see. The landlady suddenly understood. No wonder she looks so dignified. Military spouses are just different. Hearing the term military spouse, Kira Lynn's smile stiffened slightly, but she quickly returned to normal. Auntie, how much is the rent? $3,000 a month with 1 month's deposit and 3 months' rent paid in advance, the landlady said. But since you were introduced by Lawyer Wang, I can give you a discount. 2,800 a month. Thank you, Auntie. Kira Lin agreed readily. After completing the rental procedures, Kira Lin finally had her own place. Although it was rented, she felt much more comfortable here than at Diani's home. In the evening, she lay on the bed in her new house and took out her phone to check it. Diani had called over a dozen times, but she had hung up on all of them. He also sent many text messages, all of which essentially asked her to come home, and said he wanted to talk things out with her. Kira Lin read through them once, then deleted all the messages. She no longer wanted to hear any more of his explanations. Just as she was about to go to sleep, her phone rang again. This time it wasn't Diani, but an unfamiliar number. Hello, sister-in-law. It's me, Zoe Song. A cautious voice came from the other end of the line. Kira Lin raised an eyebrow. Comrade Song, what brings you to call me so late? Zoe Song's voice sounded particularly aggrieved on the phone. Sister-in-law, I'd like to meet and talk with you. Is that okay? Talk about what? Kira Lin's tone was flat, completely devoid of the hysterical anger from her previous life. This calmness made Zoe Song somewhat uneasy. According to her plan, Kira Lin should have already broken down by now. Why was she so composed instead? I want to explain my relationship with DNE to you, Zoe Song said. Those photos really aren't what you think. It's all a misunderstanding. Explanation? Kira Lin sneered. Comrade Song, do you think there's still a need for an explanation? Zoe Song grew anxious. Sister-in-law, you can't divorce brother Dini over these misunderstandings. You're husband and wife, you should trust each other. Hearing this, Kira Lin almost laughed out loud. This woman's acting skills were as clumsy as ever. Comrade Song, I'm curious, Kira Lin said playfully. Why are you more anxious than I am about my divorce from my husband? I was just concerned about you, Zoe Song stammered. Concerned? Kira Lin's tone grew even colder. An outsider showing concern for someone else's marital relationship. Isn't that inappropriate? Zoe Song was left speechless by her words. Kira Lin continued. Or do you have some ulterior motive? No, Zoe Song hurriedly denied. I really just don't want to see you two break up over a misunderstanding. All right, I'll give you a chance, Kira Lin said calmly. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., Starbucks on Coffee Street. Let's meet and talk. Really? That's great. Zoe Song's voice was full of pleasant surprise. Sis, I knew you were a kind person. Don't celebrate too soon. Kira Lin's tone suddenly turned icy. Zoe Song, I hope you'll tell me the truth tomorrow, otherwise. She didn't finish her sentence, but the threat was clear. After hanging up the phone, Kira Lin sneered. Did Zoe Song think she was still the same weak woman who was easy to bully from the previous life? This time, she would make this woman learn what it means to reap what one sows. The next morning, Kira Lin arrived at Starbucks on time. She was wearing a black professional suit with light makeup, looking capable and elegant. Zoe Song was already waiting there. She was dressed in her usual White Lotus style, a white dress with a ponytail, looking pure and innocent. Sister-in-law, you're here. Zoe Song stood up to greet her, a cautious smile on her face. Kira Lin sat down opposite her, her tone indifferent. Go ahead. What do you want to say, sister-in-law? I want to apologize to you first. Zoe Song lowered her head, her voice trembling with emotion. It's all my fault. I caused misunderstandings in your marriage. Misunderstandings. Kira Lin took a sip of her coffee. Comrade Song, what part do you think was a misunderstanding? Those photos. Zoe Song looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. They were taken on purpose by someone trying to drive a wedge between us. Who wants to drive a wedge between you? Kira Lin asked. Zoe Song was taken aback. She hadn't expected Kira Lin to ask that. I don't know, she stammered. You don't know? Kira Lin sneered. Then how did you know someone was deliberately stirring up trouble? Zoe was left speechless by her question. Kira Lin continued. Zoe, let me ask you, when did you start liking Dio? This question made Zoe Song even more flustered. I don't like brother DNE. We're just colleagues. Colleagues? Kira Lin took the voice recorder out of her bag and placed it on the table. Then how do you explain this? She pressed the play button, and yesterday's recording came through clearly. Diane, I know I shouldn't have fallen in love with you, but I couldn't help myself. Hearing her own voice, Zoe Song's face instantly turned deathly pale. What? What is going on? She asked, her voice trembling. Don't you remember what you said yourself? Kira Lin looked at her with a half-smile. Impossible. When did I ever say those things? Zoe Song shook her head desperately. Kira Lin pressed another button, playing another recording. Sister-in-law, I beg you. Please let me have Diane. I really love him, and I'm willing to do anything as long as you can let us be together. These were the words Zoe Song said on the phone last night. Zoe Song was completely stunned upon hearing this. That's impossible. I never said any of that last night. Really? Kira Lin put away the voice recorder. Then what did you say to me on the phone last night? Zoe Song thought about the content of last night's call, and realized that the words in the recording were indeed not spoken, but the voice in the recording was unmistakably hers. How could this be? Seeing her confused expression, Kira Lin sneered inwardly. These recordings were not from Zoe's conversation last night, but were actually recorded in her previous life. Back then, Zoe Song had knelt before her, tearfully begging her to give up Diane. Who would have thought these recordings would come in handy in this lifetime? Zoe Song, do you still have excuses now? Kira Lin asked coldly. Zoe Song was completely panicked. She didn't understand how these recordings had come to be, but the words spoken were indeed in her voice. Sister-in-law, I can explain, she said hurriedly. No need to explain. Kira Lin stood up. Zoe Song, this is my final warning to you. Stay away from Diane. Otherwise, these recordings will be made public to everyone in the military district. With that, she picked up her bag and prepared to leave. Wait. Zoe Song hurriedly grabbed her. Sister-in-law, listen to me. Kira Lin turned around, her gaze as cold as a knife. Let go. Zoe Song was frightened by her look and involuntarily released her hand. Remember my words. Kira Lin gave her one last look. This is your final chance. Chapter 6. After leaving the cafe, Kira Lin went directly to her company, Lin's Trading Company Limited, located on the 18th floor of a commercial building in the city center. Although the office space is not large, it is tastefully decorated. The company primarily engages in import and export trade with fewer than 20 employees, but each one is an elite professional. President Lin. The employees were excited to see Kira Lin arrive. Manager Lee quickly approached. President Lin, you finally arrived. We've missed you so much. Kira Lin smiled and said, Haven't always been here. It's just that I've been dealing with some personal matters lately and haven't been coming to the office often. Ms. Lin, have you finished handling your personal matters? Manager Lee asked with concern. Almost done. Kira Lin nodded. I'll have more time to devote to the company's development from now on. Hearing this, Manager Lee and the other employees were very pleased. Although Kira Lin doesn't often come to the office, her business acumen and decision-making abilities are widely recognized. President Lin, I'd like to brief you on the recent situation. Manager Lee took out a stack of documents. Good. Let's discuss it in the office. Kira Lin's office is spacious with a simple yet elegant decor. A few calligraphy pieces and paintings hang on the walls, and the bookshelves are filled with various business books. Manager Lee provided a detailed report on the company's recent performance and development. Kira Lin listened attentively, occasionally asking questions and offering suggestions. Manager Lee, you've done an excellent job, Kira Lin said after listening to the report. She was very satisfied. The company's achievements today are largely thanks to you. All of this is due to your excellent guidance, President Lin, Manager Lee said modestly. By the way, Kira Lin remembered something. I plan to expand and strengthen the company. What do you think is the biggest bottleneck right now? Manager Lee thought for a moment. I believe the main issue is funding. With sufficient funds, we could expand into more business areas and also recruit more talent. Money is not an issue, Kira Lin said calmly. I'm prepared to invest 20 million. Do you think that's enough? Manager Lee's eyes widened upon hearing this. President Lin, 20 million? Are you sure? Of course I'm sure, Kira Lin nodded. I have confidence in the company and I have confidence in all of you. Manager Lee was so excited he didn't know what to say. 20 million was an astronomical figure for a small company like theirs. President Lin, rest assured, I will not let you down, he solemnly promised. The two of them discussed the company's future development plans in detail, and the meeting did not conclude until 5 p.m. As she left the company, Kira Lin was in high spirits. Her professional success further strengthened her resolve to get a divorce. She wanted to prove to everyone that she could live well even without Dio. Just as she was about to head home, her phone rang. It's an unfamiliar number. Hello, Ms. Lin. This is Attorney Wang. The voice of Attorney Wang came from the other end of the phone. I have good news for you. The divorce agreement has been delivered to Chief Jio, and he has already signed it. Kira Lin was taken aback. He signed it? Yes, Attorney Wang said, and it was done very quickly. It was delivered this morning and signed by the afternoon. It seems Chief Jio is also very much in favor of this divorce. Upon hearing this news, Kira Lin felt a mix of emotions. She had thought Danju would at least hesitate for a while, never expecting him to sign so quickly. What do we do next? She asked. Please come to the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we will complete the final procedures. Lawyer Wang said, once the procedures are done, you will be completely free. All right, I understand. After hanging up the phone, Kira Lin stood on the street, her emotions too complex to describe. From the decision to divorce until now, it has only been a few short days, yet everything has proceeded so smoothly. Dangu's quick agreement to sign left her with an indescribable sense of loss. Perhaps in his heart, she truly held no weight at all. Just as she was thinking this, another phone call came in. This time it was Dio. Kira Lin hesitated for a moment, but still answered, Hello, Kira. Dangu's voice sounded weary. Let's meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow morning, and get this over with. Okay, Kira Lin replied simply. Also, Danju paused. I don't want the house or the savings. I'll leave everything to you. No need, Kira Lin refused. I don't want anything. Dangu, we've already made it very clear, Kira Lin interrupted him. After we finish the procedures tomorrow, we'll have nothing to do with each other. After speaking, she hung up the phone. Standing under the setting sun, Kira Lin watched the bustling street. But instead of the expected sense of relief, she felt a void in her heart. Perhaps this is what it feels like to end a relationship, even when it's a choice you've made yourself. She took a deep breath, and then walked forward with determination. At 9 o'clock the next morning, in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Kira Lin was dressed in a black professional suit with light makeup. Looking capable and elegant, she arrived 10 minutes early and waited at the entrance. At exactly 9 o'clock, a military green jeep pulled up at the entrance. Danjo stepped out of the car, still in his military uniform, looking handsome and upright, though a trace of weariness lingered between his brows. The two met at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, exchanged a glance, and said nothing. The process of handling the divorce was simple. Filling out forms, signing, and fingerprinting. It was all completed in less than half an hour. The staff handed them 2 red divorce certificates. Congratulations. All the procedures are finished. Hearing the word congratulations, both Kira Lin and Danjo found it deeply ironic. Kira Lin took the divorce certificate, glanced at it, and then put it in her bag. Well, goodbye then, she said, nodding at Jio before turning to leave. Kira. Jio called out to her. Kira Lin turned to look at him, her expression calm. Is there anything else? Jio opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, nothing came out. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now. After saying this, Kira Lin left without looking back, watching her figure disappear into the crowd. Danjo stood in place for a long time without moving. They had been married for 3 years, but the divorce took less than half an hour. Chapter 7. After the divorce proceedings were completed, Kira Lin didn't go straight home. Instead, she went to a high-end beauty salon. She wanted to change her appearance and completely leave her past self behind. Miss, what kind of hairstyle are you looking for? The hairstylist asked. Kira Lin looked at herself in the mirror. The waist-length hair was Niga's favorite. He had once said her long hair was beautiful and told her never to cut it short. Cut it all off. Make it short, she said without hesitation. The hairstylist was taken aback. Miss, are you sure? Your long hair is so beautiful. It would be a shame to cut it. I'm sure, Kira Lynn said firmly. The shorter, the better. 3 hours later, Kira Lynn emerged from the beauty salon completely transformed. She had gotten a sleek short haircut dyed a subtle chestnut color. Paired with her delicate features and professional attire, she looked intellectual and elegant, with a stronger, more authoritative aura than before. While passing by the mall, she bought herself several new outfits, all professional attire, mainly in black, gray, and white, giving off a professional and commanding presence. By the time she returned to her apartment, it was already 4 p.m. Kira Lynn looked at herself in the mirror and nodded with satisfaction. This was the version of herself she had always wanted. Independent, confident, and reliant on no one. Just as she was about to take a break, the doorbell rang. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It was a woman she didn't recognize. Who are you looking for? She asked through the door. Are you Ms. Kira Lynn? I'm Zoe Song. Zoe Song's voice came from outside the door. Kira Lynn sneered. This woman was really persistent, actually finding her way here. She opened the door and saw Zoe Song standing at the entrance, holding a fruit basket in her hand. How did you know I live here? Kira Lynn asked bluntly. Zoe Song looked a bit uncomfortable. I asked a few people before I found out. Is there something you need? Kira Lynn showed no intention of inviting her inside. Sis, I mean Ms. Lynn, Zoe Song corrected herself. I heard that you and Diani have already divorced. I came to apologize to you. Apologize? Kira Lynn found it amusing. Apologize for what? It's all because of me that you and brother Diani broke up. Tears welled up in Zoe Song's eyes. I really didn't expect things to turn out this way. Watching her put on this affected display, Kira Lynn felt a wave of disgust. Zoe Song, have you finished acting? She said coldly. Zoe Song was taken aback. And Lynn, what do you mean? Do you think I can't see through it? Kira Lynn looked her up and down. You didn't come here today to apologize at all. You came to show off. You want to tell me you've won, don't you? Hitting right at the core of her thoughts, Zoe Song's expression shifted slightly, but she quickly put on a hurt look. Ms. Lynn, you've misunderstood. I really just wanted to apologize. Is that so? Kira Lynn took out her phone from her bag. Then I'll call Jaya right now and tell him you came to see me. How does that sound? Hearing this, Zoe Song panicked immediately. Don't. She hurried to stop her, but it was too late. Kira Lynn had already pressed the dial button. The call connected quickly and Dian Igu's weary voice came through. Hello Dangio. Your Zoe Song has come to my house, Kira Lynn said bluntly. You'd better handle her and make sure she doesn't bother me again. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, followed by Dian Igu's stern voice. Zoe is at your place? Yes, right at my door. Kira Lynn glanced at Zoe Song's pale face. I don't want to get involved in your affairs. But if she harasses me again, I'll call the police. I'll be right there. Dian Igu hung up the phone after saying this. Hearing this, Zoe Song panicked. Ms. Lin, how can you do this? I just wanted to. Wanted what? Kira Lynn interrupted her. Wanted to see how miserable I am? Wanted to show off your victory? Zoe Song, you've underestimated me. I didn't. Zoe Song still wanted to argue. Didn't. Kira Lynn sneered. Then explain how you knew my address. And why did you come all the way to find me? Zoe was left speechless by the questioning. And Kira Lynn continued. Did you think I'd be miserable after the divorce? Let me tell you, I'm doing better than ever. She pointed to her new hairstyle and new clothes. See, this is what freedom feels like. Zoe Song looked at Kira Lynn, a sense of unease welling up inside her. This woman was completely different from what she had imagined. Not only was she not dispirited by the divorce, but she actually seemed more confident. Ms. Lin was about to say something else when footsteps echoed from downstairs. Soon, Dangio appeared at the top of the stairs. The moment he saw Zoe Song, his expression darkened immediately. Zoe, what are you doing here? His voice was cold. Zoe Song immediately put on a pitiful expression upon seeing him. Brother Dane, I just wanted to apologize to Ms. Lin. Apologize? Dangu sneered. What do you have to apologize for? Zoe Song was frightened by his attitude, tears falling down her cheeks. Brother Dane, why are you treating me like this? How have I treated you? Dane Gu's face grew even colder. Zoe Song, I'm warning you. Don't harass Kira again in the future, or don't blame me for being impolite. Kira Lin watched the scene without any emotional fluctuation. In her past life, she would have been heartbroken by Dane Gui defending Zoe Song. But now she just found them ridiculous. Don't drag me into your grudges and affections, she said indifferently. Don't come looking for me again in the future. After saying that, she closed the door, shutting both of them outside. Chapter 8. The sound of Zoe Song's aggrieved crying and Dane Gu's low voice came from outside the door. But Kira Lin had no desire to listen. She put on her headphones and began handling the company's documents. The feeling of freedom is wonderful. No more wasting time on those tedious emotional entanglements. The next day, when Kira Lin went to the company, she unexpectedly ran into an acquaintance in the elevator. Director Lin? Kira Lin turned around and saw a man in his 30s dressed in a sharp suit and quite handsome. She thought for a moment and recognized him. Mr. Chun. This was Chun Lin, her former university classmate, who was now the general manager of an investment company. They had been good friends in college, but had lost touch after graduation. It really is you, Chun Lin said happily. I saw you just now and thought I might have mistaken you for someone else. You've changed so much. Is that so? Kira Lin touched her short hair. Maybe it's the hairstyle change. It's not just the hairstyle, Chun Lin observed her carefully. It feels like your whole demeanor is different, more confident. The elevator arrived at the 18th floor, and Kira Lin was about to get off. Is this floor your company? Chun Lin asked. Yes. Lin's Trading, Kira Lin nodded. What a coincidence. Chun Lin was excited. Our company is looking for partners. If you have time, we could discuss a collaboration. Kira Lin thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. Sure. When would be convenient? How about tonight? I'll treat you to dinner, and we can talk over the meal. Sure. Kira Lin did not refuse. The two agreed on a time and place before Chun Lin took the elevator and left. Kira Lin walked into the office, and Manager Lee immediately came forward to greet her. President Lin, you seem to be in a good mood today, Manager Lee said with a smile. Indeed, it's quite good, Kira Lin nodded. By the way, I might be collaborating with Stellar Investment Company. Please help me prepare the relevant materials. Stellar Investment? Manager Lee's eyes lit up. President Lin, that's a well-known investment firm in the industry. If we can collaborate with them, it would be very beneficial for our company's development. That's what I thought too, Kira Lin said. So we must make sure this collaboration is successful. In the afternoon, Kira Lin specifically went home to change into a set of dark blue professional attire, paired with simple jewelry, looking elegant and professional. At 7 o'clock in the evening, she appeared punctually at the agreed-upon restaurant. It was a high-end Western-style restaurant with a very pleasant atmosphere. Chun Lin was already waiting for her there. Upon seeing her arrival, he immediately stood up. President Lin, you look truly beautiful today, he praised sincerely. Thank you. Kira Lin replied gracefully as she sat down. The two placed their orders and began discussing the collaboration. Chun Lin's company had the advantage of capital while Kira Lin's company had the advantage of channels. Cooperation between the two sides could indeed achieve a win-win situation. Ms. Lin, I have great confidence in your company, Chun Lin said. However, I'm quite curious. Why did you choose to enter the trade industry? Kira Lin thought for a moment and answered honestly. Because I have a talent for languages and a good understanding of the international market. Indeed, you were a top student in the foreign languages department back in college, Chun Lin recalled. By the way, are you married? When this topic was mentioned, Kira Lin's expression stiffened slightly, but she quickly returned to normal. Just got divorced. Oh, sorry. Chun Lin felt a bit awkward. I didn't mean to pry into your personal matters. It's okay. Kira Lin smiled faintly. Divorce was a relief for me, and I'm doing very well now. Chun Lin looked at her, a flicker of something passing through his eyes, but it was quickly concealed. The two continued to discuss the collaboration, and the atmosphere remained harmonious. Just as they were having a pleasant conversation, two familiar figures appeared at the restaurant entrance. It was Dio and Zoe Song. Kira Lin frowned slightly upon seeing them. Why were they here? Dio clearly noticed her too, and his expression immediately changed. His gaze shifted back and forth between Kira Lin and Chen Lin, a flicker of something in his eyes. Kira. He walked over, his tone somewhat unnatural. Kira Lin looked up at him, her tone flat. Mr. Ju. Noticing how she addressed him, Dio's expression darkened even more. She used to call him Dio, but now she was calling him Mr. Gu. So distant. Are you two discussing something? He glanced at Chen Lin. Yes, talking about work. Kira Lin replied briefly, then introduced Chen Lin. This is my ex-husband, Dio. The term ex-husband made Dio Gu's face turn ashen. Chen Lin politely stood up. Hello, I'm Chen Lin. Dio Gu nodded coldly, not extending his hand. The atmosphere became somewhat awkward. Zoe Song walked over at this moment. When she saw Kira Lin's new look, a hint of jealousy flashed in her eyes, but she quickly replaced it with a gentle smile. Ms. Lin, you look beautiful today, she complimented insincerely. Kira Lin glanced at her but did not respond. Well, we won't disturb you anymore, Dio said stiffly, pulling Zoe to leave. But Zoe didn't want to go. She deliberately said loudly, Brother Dio, let's sit here and eat too. It's a good chance to chat with Ms. Lin. Hearing this, Kira Lin sneered. Sorry, we're discussing business. It's not convenient. After saying that, she said to Chen Lin, let's find another place. Chen Lin immediately stood up. Okay. The two stood up and left, leaving Dio Ju and Zoe Song standing there, watching Kira Lin's elegant departing figure. Dio felt an indescribable emotion welling up in his heart. Chapter 9. Kira Lin and Chen Lin moved to a quieter cafe to continue their business negotiations. Sorry for making you see me in such an awkward situation. Kira Lin picked up her coffee, her tone calm. It's all right, Chen Lin smiled slightly. But it seems your ex-husband still cares about you. Cares? Kira Lin sneered. If he truly cared, we wouldn't be in this situation today. Chen Lin sensed the bitterness in her words and didn't press further, instead steering the conversation back to work. 2 hours later, their intention to collaborate was basically confirmed. Chen Lin's company was willing to invest 50 million for a strategic partnership with Kira Lin's company. President Lin, a pleasure working with you. Chen Lin raised his coffee cup. A pleasure working with you. Kira Lin also raised her cup and gently clinked it with his. This collaboration was of great significance to her, not just an injection of funds, but also a recognition of her capabilities. When leaving the cafe, it was already 10 p.m. Chen Lin offered to take her home. Thank you, but that's not necessary. Kira Lin politely declined. I can take a taxi myself. It's so late. It's not safe for a woman to take a taxi alone, Chen Lin insisted. Let me take you. It's on my way anyway. Kira Lin thought for a moment, and did not refuse again. Chen Lin's car is a black Mercedes, understated yet tasteful. In the car, the two chatted about some light topics. Chen Lin was very talkative and humorous, which put Kira Lin in a good mood. When they arrived at the entrance of the residential area, Kira Lin prepared to get out of the car. Ms. Lin, Chen Lin called out to her. If you don't mind, we could watch a movie together this weekend, purely as a gathering between friends. Kira Lin paused for a moment. She could tell that Chen Lin had feelings for her, but she had just gotten divorced and wasn't ready to consider a relationship yet. Mr. Chen, thank you for the invitation, she said politely. But I just got divorced, and right now I just want to focus on my work. Chen Lin was a bit disappointed but quickly adjusted his emotions. I understand, but if you change your mind, feel free to contact me anytime. Okay, thank you. Kira Lin nodded and got out of the car, watching her figure disappear into the residential area. Chen Lin sat in the car for a while before starting the engine and driving away. Kira Lin returned home, took a shower, changed into comfortable pajamas, and lay on the sofa to watch TV. This was the first time she had felt truly relaxed since her divorce. No one was urging her to come home. No one was questioning her whereabouts, and no one was getting jealous because she spoke to other men. The feeling of freedom is wonderful. While watching TV, her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello. Lynn, this is Zoe Song. Zoe's cautious voice came from the other end of the phone. Kira Lynn frowned. What do you want now? I want to apologize to you. Zoe Song's voice was choked with tears. What happened tonight was all my fault. I shouldn't have deliberately acted that way in the restaurant. Oh, Kira Lynn responded indifferently, showing no sign of forgiveness. Ms. Lynn, I know you really dislike me, but I want to tell you a secret. Zoe's voice suddenly turned mysterious. What secret? Kira Lynn was somewhat curious. It's about Brother Danny, Zoe said. He hasn't been doing well these past few days. He's been drinking every day and keeps murmuring your name. Hearing this, Kira Lynn felt nothing inside. In her past life, she would have softened at such words, but now she wouldn't be fooled again. And then she asked coldly. He also said he regrets it. Zoe continued. He said he never loved me and that the one he has always loved is you, Zoe Song. Have you had enough of acting? Kira Lynn finally couldn't hold back. Do you think such a clumsy lie can fool me? I'm telling the truth, Zoe Song hurriedly explained. Brother Danny really regrets it. He wants to win you back. So what? Kira Lynn sneered. I don't love him anymore. This statement left Zoe stunned. She had thought that Kira Lynn would soften upon hearing these words, would consider getting back together with Danny Gio, and then she could continue playing the victim. Unexpectedly, Kira Lynn actually said she no longer loved him. You don't love Brother Danny anymore? She asked in disbelief. Yes, I don't love him anymore. Kira Lynn answered without hesitation. Now I only love myself. After saying that, she hung up the phone and then blocked Zoe Song's number, lying on the sofa. Kira Lynn looked at the ceiling, feeling completely at peace inside. She truly didn't love Danny Gio anymore. After the betrayal and hurt from her past life, her love for him had long been exhausted. Now she only wanted to live for herself. The next day, Kira Lynn went to work as usual. Manager Lee excitedly told her that the cooperation agreement with Stellar Investment had been drafted and was just waiting for her signature. President Lin, with this investment, our company can really take off, Manager Lee said excitedly. Yes, Kira Lynn nodded. I've already thought of the next steps for our development plan. While they were discussing, the front desk called. President Lin, someone is here to see you. Who? A mister? Kira Lynn frowned. Why is Dionigio here? Have him wait in the reception room. I'll be right there. She tidied up her appearance and headed toward the reception room. Pushing open the door, she saw Dionigio sitting on the sofa. He was still in his military uniform, but looked somewhat haggard with noticeable red streaks in his eyes. What are you here for? Kira Lynn sat down opposite him, her tone cold. Dionigio looked up at her, a complex emotion flashing in his eyes. She had changed, becoming more beautiful yet also more unfamiliar. I want to talk to you, he said, his voice somewhat hesitant. We have nothing to talk about, Kira Lynn said coldly. Mr. Gio, we are already divorced. Please don't come looking for me again in the future. Chapter 10. Dionigio looked at the woman before him, feeling an indescribable pain in his heart. The once gentle and devoted Kira Lynn had completely disappeared, replaced by this cold and unfamiliar businesswoman. Kira, I know I did many things wrong in the past. His voice was low, carrying a humility he had never shown before. I want to make amends to start over. Kira Lynn let out a cold laugh. Make amends, Diany? Do you really think some things can be made up for? She stood up, walked to the window, and looked down at the bustling street below. You know what? I once considered you my entire world. For you I could give up everything, including my dignity. But what did you give me? Dionigio opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. You gave me betrayal, humiliation, and despair. Kira Lynn turned to look at him, her eyes devoid of any warmth. And now you're telling me we should start over. Dini, do you really think I'm still that foolish woman you could manipulate at will? I never betrayed you. Dionigio stood up and walked over to her. Nothing ever happened between me and Zoe Song. Nothing happened. Kira Lynn sneered, pulling out her phone from her bag and playing a recording. Then how do you explain this? Zoe Song's sobbing voice came from the recording. Brother Dini, the doctor said I'm pregnant. This is your child. I know you can't get a divorce. I won't ask for anything. I just wanted to tell you. Then came Dianigio's voice, somewhat flustered but still gentle as he comforted her. Zoe, don't cry. I'll take responsibility. Hearing this recording, Dianigio's face instantly turned pale. This was impossible. He had never had a relationship with Zoe Song, let alone gotten her pregnant. This is fake, he hurriedly explained. Kira, this recording is fake. I never said these things. Is that so? Kira Lin put away her phone. Then explain why Zoe Song is currently at the obstetrics and gynecology hospital for a prenatal checkup. She took a photo out of her bag and threw it on the table. In the photo, Zoe Song was wearing loose maternity clothes with a clearly visible baby bump. Waiting in line at the hospital, Dangio looked at the photo and was completely stunned. This couldn't be possible. How could Zoe Song be pregnant? And it looked like she was at least 5 or 6 months along. This can't be, he murmured. Impossible. Kira Lin sneered. Dangu, at this point, are you still going to lie? Actually, all of these were fabricated by Kira Lin. The recording was synthesized using software, and the photos were photoshopped by someone she paid. But in the previous life, all of these were true. Songru did indeed carry Dang's child just a bit earlier than now. I really haven't done anything. Dio looked at her, his eyes filled with despair. Kira, you have to believe me. Trust you. Kira Lin shook her head. Dio, I've given you too many chances already. It's over now. She walked back to her desk and picked up the documents on it. You should leave. I have work to attend to. Kira Lin still wanted to say something. Security. Kira Lin pressed the intercom. Please escort this gentleman out. Soon 2 security guards walked in. Sir, please leave. The security guard said politely but firmly. Dianigu looked at Kira Lin, who didn't even lift her head, focused on the documents in her hands as if he didn't exist at all. He had no choice but to leave helplessly. Kira Lin didn't look up until she heard the footsteps fade away. Gazing out the window, she felt not the anticipated satisfaction, but a sense of emptiness. The revenge was complete, yet she felt no fulfillment. Perhaps true happiness lies not in revenge, but in living one's own life well. A month later, with the capital injection from Stellar Investment, Kira Lin's company developed rapidly. She rented the entire 20th floor as office space, and the number of employees grew to over 100. She herself was named Most Promising Female Entrepreneur of the Year by a business magazine, and even graced the cover that day. She was handling documents in the office when Manager Lee knocked and entered. President Lin, I have some good news for you, Manager Lee said with excitement. Our company has been selected to participate in next month's International Trade Expo. It's the highest level exhibition in the industry. Really? Kira Lin was also delighted. This is highly significant for our company's development. Yes, Manager Lee nodded. And the organizers have even invited you to attend the opening ceremony as a guest. Kira Lin nodded with satisfaction. Everything was moving in a positive direction. Just as she was speaking, the front desk called again. Ms. Lin, there's someone here to see you downstairs. Who? A military officer, said to be your friend. The receptionist's tone sounded a bit odd. Kira Lin frowned. Aside from Jiu, she didn't know many military officers. Let him come up. A few minutes later, the office door was knocked. Kira Lin thought it was Dangio, but a strange middle-aged military officer entered instead. You must be Ms. Kira Lin, the officer saluted. I am Director Zhang from the Military District Discipline Inspection Commission. Kira Lin stood up. Director Zhang. Hello. Please have a seat. Director Zhang sat on the sofa with a serious expression. Ms. Lin, I came today to inquire about some matters. What is it? It's about Comrade Jiu. Director Zhang took out a voice recorder. We received a report alleging that Comrade Dang Jiu has issues with his personal conduct, including an improper relationship with a subordinate. Kira Lin's heart skipped a beat. Someone reported Jiu. I would like to ask you as a party involved to explain the specific details. Director Zhang continued. Kira Lin thought for a moment and sat down. Director Zhang, what would you like to know? Does Comrade Dio have an improper relationship with Comrade Zhou? Kira Lin looked at him, calculating in her heart. This was an opportunity, a chance to completely bring down Dang Jiao. But then she reconsidered. She had already gained freedom and success, so why bother dwelling on the past? Director Zhang, Dio and I are already divorced, she said calmly. His private life has nothing to do with me. I don't want to be involved in anything concerning him anymore. Director Zhang was somewhat surprised. Ms. Lin, are you sure? If there is any relevant evidence. No, Kira Lin interrupted him. Director Zhang, I just want to focus on my career now. Let the past be in the past. Looking at the blue sky outside the window, Kira Lin felt a sense of peace in her heart. She finally understood that true victory is not about defeating others, but about becoming a better version of oneself. From now on, she will live for herself and live a wonderful life that belongs to Kira Lin. The end.